you have that quality around a player like Haaland, it doesn't bode well for everybody else in the league.
No disrespect to Arsenal, but be a very brave person at the moment when you to bet against Manchester City going on and winning the title, looking at the way they started, look at the ammunition they now have up front. That would be 5 out of 6 seasons. Is it a problem for the Premier League to have a team like this that look like they could dominate for quite a while?
I think it's going to be if it continues. I think it's going to be. There was a period there, I think it was probably around 10 years ago, when the Premier League teams were really struggling in the Champions League. And I thought that was a problem for the brand. But it's cyclical. And it has been, but I'm not sure this one is.
Right.
And so, if it's not Liverpool, it has to be Arsenal, it has to be Chelsea, it has to be Man United. Somebody's going to have to step up to the plate. There's many people like the Bundesliga, as you well know. But it is a problem if Bayern are continually winning the league. Now, it's not City's problem and it's not Bayern's problem.
Yes.
It's everybody else's problem. Yeah. It's not their it's not their to do to make themselves weaker. But this could turn potentially into an issue for English football.
As much as we've had this discussion around teams in other leagues, you mentioned Bayern Munich, Juventus, Real Madrid and Barcelona. I think the difference in the Premier League is there is so much more money in the Premier League that there's greater parity in terms of the revenues. What Barcelona and Real Madrid bring in terms of revenues far outstrips anything that Atletico Madrid or Sevilla can do, for argument's sake. And you can look at that in every single league, whether we're talking about Liga or the Bundesliga as well. But even though there's greater parity financially, it shows that you have to have purpose with how you're spending. We've sat here and made a lot about Manchester United's spending and their failures. And not to keep picking on them, but it shows how spending money doesn't necessarily guarantee success. And what City have done is spend the money in a way that they have benefited. They identified their manager, they know what they want to do, they go out and buy the players to do it. Liverpool have spent far less than everybody else, but they have a manager, and I know they've been having their problems this season. But it shows, I feel that is why it won't be as big an issue for the Premier League as it may be for other leagues.
Mario, what do you think? Could this be a problem going forward for the Premier League?
It will hurt the game, in the league. I think, why did I come to England and play there so long? It was because I had a feeling that there were more opportunities for other teams to win the league. And I think if we go to, like Craig said, if we go to that momentum of winning continuously, and then Shaka said, if we continuously win, then I think that spicy side of why England is so great and playing, it might go away. And like you said, look, we cannot look at City and make that a problem for them, because we have to remember, right? We have a coach there that he started playing with a false 9. Then he had Aguero, false 9. Now he finds a striker that everybody said is going to be a problem. And even I had to see if he could, handle someone like that, because don't forget, guys, he brought a guy like Zlatan, and I don't want to compare them to each other, but it was kind of like a target man too, and it didn't work well. It was a different league. Now he's in England, brings Haaland. The kid cannot stop scoring. I even think Guardiola is looking at him and saying, like, he knew he was great, but he's even producing more. And I think if City continues doing this, and I see that Liverpool dropped a little bit, and maybe it's early to call Liverpool that they dropped a little bit, because maybe they pick on the momentum again, because we're still early in the season and we don't know what's going to happen after the World Cup. But I just don't want it to become like a one-team race. I want to make sure that everybody stays in the momentum. But what City is producing right now, guys, this is what we call real football, man. This is just a joy to watch.
Yeah, before we go to Jules quickly, I would say maybe the bigger problem is the coach. Because I tell you why. Yeah. Of course, the players are important. That's a silly thing to say. But City have had success before with Pellegrini, with Mancini, but they've never played this kind of stuff.
No,
they've not outplayed teams like this. They've maybe outfought them and outbeat them, and they've had some good games. But they've never played this style of football in this manner and just ripped teams apart. And that's the coach. In some sense, Liverpool's the same. Not at this moment.
My thing is, I think other clubs have allowed City to grow. And you're right, because people want to play for Pep Guardiola. So there's a huge attraction there. But we're talking about a City team, arguably the best City team we've ever seen, with Kevin De Bruyne, who couldn't get into Chelsea's lineup, and he was cast off. A couple of years ago, when Haaland was leaving Salzburg, he had talks with both Manchester United and Dortmund, but United didn't want to do business with Mino Raiola, and so he goes to Dortmund, and now he's at City. And had those decisions been made better, had both of those clubs been just a little bit more aware of what they had at the time, or could have had at the time, maybe we're having a very different discussion. But both of those, in those two instances, and we can look even further afield, drop the ball in those respects, and now City are benefiting. And why is it on City to now, you know, it's not on City to make other people's minds up.
Right.
No.
Jules, are we getting carried away with ourselves?
I just think a little bit. One, because Haaland is not going to stick. It's not going to be there for long. I think it's pretty obvious, and we saw the recent quotes from his own dad, saying all the list of clubs that they have, that they can go pretty much whenever they want. So he's not going to be there for the next 10 years, and neither will be Pep Guardiola. Right now, we're talking about an extension, but we're not even sure how long more he will be there. And I think once Guardiola leaves, once Haaland leaves, De Bruyne is 31 years old. At some point, this domination is going to stop. And also, it's a domination in terms of trophies. You're right, 4 in 5, maybe 5 in 6. But as long as there's at least one team that is really close, like Liverpool, you know, coming close, 1 point behind, not winning the title, I think this is the problem with PSG and Bayern Munich and Juventus to a certain extent, is that they've been winning the league 25 points, 30 points clear, which City have done. But someone has also run City really, really close. And as long as that happens, as long as others can become competitive, spend the money better, like Shaka said, strengthen their squads, I think the competition will always kind of be there.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.